Now, Keith, moments ago, Amarisa touched on, I guess, students taking away a sense of leadership, community pride from their educational experience. This is something that I understand is promoted at the Ronald Academy as well, pardon me. How is that done? I mean, how do we instill that leadership in our students?
Well, you know, and it's what you offer, and it can be a challenge in a smaller school. You know, as I mentioned before, our school runs from grades 4 through 12, and our current enrollment is 216 students. That's a pretty small community. But we pride ourselves on maintaining a big experience despite having quite a small campus, and the opportunities we're able to provide. And leadership's a big piece of it. Athletics, a lot of leadership can come through athletics, but a lot of programs and clubs we have at the school are developed and ran to promote that leadership opportunities in students. And we have many different ones. We have a basis. We have one called Kids Helping Kids. And it's exactly as it sounds. Our students are out promoting exactly that. They want to help other students in need. We've combined with the Dirty Wall Project in past years. This year we're working with an alumni making sandwiches for the homeless, and I believe he might be coming on this show next week.
Oh, is this
Sam Sawchuk?
So it's story for a sandwich.
Yeah, sandwich for a story.
Sandwich for a story.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's a great initiative.
You know, and also that they're involved in many fundraising opportunities, just finished sponsoring some families at Christmas time. But
now you guys are busy over there. That's great.
Yeah. But and these are all student-led initiatives. So they're meeting, talking about how they want to help the community, how they want to help the people around them. We have a trip going out to Cambodia this spring break. So that group will be raising money for that group to buy supplies and bring out to students in the school there. A lot of different facets there, all the way to our grade 12s who pair up with grade 6s through our own grade 6s through the year, lead them around campus. A really great opportunity to connect in one space like that. We have that great opportunity having students so young and all the way to the end of the line, as well as partnering with the neighbor school in a reading program with the kindergarten students, even heading out at lunchtime shoveling snow for the people in our community. Because not being a community school, you can have a bit of a disconnect, but we really try and engage around the Altador area.
From what you've listed, I would argue that you're doing more for in your community than a lot of traditional community schools are doing. I think you've got a unique perspective, though, of course, because you see these kids at such a young age and develop into adolescence. Tell me a bit about that. I mean, that must be a source of pride for you, I would think, for a lot of these kids.
Yeah, it turns into a family. It really, like I say, we get to know our students. We have a unique system in the junior and senior high where a student stays with a homeroom teacher for 3 years. So the homeroom, just like the class sizes, are 8 or 10, depending on the division, and you're with that teacher for those 3 years. They often teach you a couple of the classes, and they get to know you quite well as a learner, as an individual.
You better get along pretty well as well.
Yeah, well, and you know what, and there's a gift in that too. It's understanding how to exist in a small community, and perhaps not always seeing eye to eye, but how to manage conflict, how to show resolve, and how to persevere through it. So it's a really great opportunity to have such a small community. But again, and we're able to involve our students in all these initiatives, and it comes with a lot of work and a lot of dedication from our staff and teachers. But it's worth it in the end. It's definitely fulfilling.
It's easily the barometers that kids. It's like you say, the student initiatives. They're the ones taking the lead. Little kids, obviously. I mean, you can do your best to instill, leadership, ethics into preschoolers. Can you tell if you're hitting the mark?
Yes, when students are representing, again, I'm going to use sensorial modalities through the arts, and when they're drawing pictures to show this is my friend, and this is how I'm sharing, pardon me, that's how they are showing, how they're developing empathy and perspective taking. So for children, it's going to come out in different ways versus for young children versus youth, for example. But absolutely, they can integrate that.
Now, in your opinion, how can educators better support and sustain children's holistic development?
Yes, so I already mentioned, and we talked about this deep knowledge and creating environments where children have access to various processes and tools and educational materials so that they can develop their interests further and develop deep knowledge. But also, one of the things that I believe strongly is that educators need to view curriculum as a bit of a pastiche, and with this I'm saying we have to hold in tension different paradigms. So looking at direct instruction just as much as we look at constructivist learning, and looking at critical pedagogy and technical skill development and the scientific knowledge that is brought into the classroom. So holding that in tension, because what we want is to have the student be at the center and learning be the goal, not curriculum at the center. So what works for our students? And going back to that, teaching to that child, not teaching to the test, not teacher-proof curriculum, but what works for this child. And for in different circumstances and or disciplines, there are certain things that are necessary to teach. And in other at other times, we are looking at project-based learning, and that works, but kind of bringing it together. And then the teacher, for him or her to be very intentional in mediating learning and scaffolding learning, so that students are indeed reaping the benefit of the opportunities provided to him or her in the classroom.
And I mean, I agree. When you talk about a holistic approach, you know, there's a lot of talk around soft skills and the importance of learning those soft skills is through the school experience, and how that's going to set them up for success. And then, I mean, kindness, empathy, conscientiousness, all these things are so very important for our students, and all these activities help promote that. But one thing we talk a lot about at Arundel Academy is grit. You know, and I think Angela Duckworth, a researcher in the States, might have coined it or is a big champion of it, but it's the ability to persevere.
Yes.
And it's tied closely with a growth mindset.
Yes.
You know, and how do you develop that growth mindset in a student? How do you instill that perseverance and that positive thinking? And it's that real subset of skills beyond the academic ones that there's a lot of research.
Confidence. I think confidence has got to be a big one.
That's right.
And a willingness to try and not to give up and to take that step when you're unsure, and that's really fundamentally, you know, that's when we talk about learning differences, we talk a lot about differentiating instruction and accommodations, but I really think that's one of the biggest accommodations and strategies we can give our students leaving the program is a real understanding of themselves as learners, and an understanding of how they learn and that they can learn.
You're making better citizens that way,
And
frankly.
their place in the world.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. We're going to jump to our final break, folks. Stay with us.